The stars trembled as the massive Apex fleet emerged from hyperspace. 300 warships hung in the darkness like metal predators, their hulls gleaming with weapons that had destroyed 1,000 worlds. On the bridge of the lead vessel, 3 figures stood in perfect formation. Commander Tora of the Zephyrians gazed at the blue planet with cold telepathic eyes. Her translucent skin pulsed with psychic energy as she reached out with her mind to probe the primitive world below. Admiral Korthax of the Vorthok crackled with contained plasma, his energy form barely held within its containment field. Act! Between them, General Zixamor of the Nexari processed combat data through dozens of cybernetic implants that glowed red against his metallic flesh. Another backward species, Veltara, spoke directly into their minds. Their technology is centuries behind. Ours, this will be finished quickly. The 3 had worked together for 200 years, crushing civilizations across the galaxy. The Zephyrians controlled minds, the Nexari built perfect machines, and the Vorthok wielded pure energy. Together they were unstoppable. No species had ever lasted more than a few days against their combined might. On Earth, alarms screamed across every military base. In the underground command center beneath Sol, Captain Hunley stared at the tactical display showing the enormous alien fleet. His weathered face remained calm despite the impossible odds. Many ships?" asked quietly. Lieutenant Mina Kim's voice shook as she read the sensors. 300 confirmed contacts, sir. Each one is larger than our biggest battleship. Around the room, Earth's military leaders felt their hearts sink. Humanity had been preparing for first contact for decades, but not like this. These ships carried the signature of the Apex Consortium, the terror that had haunted the galaxy for millennia. Admiral Jiho Park entered the command center, his uniform crisp despite being woken at 3 in the morning. Status report. There. Positioning for orbital bombardment, reported Commander Sun-Hee Lim from the sensor station. Based on our intelligence, they'll demand surrender first. It's their pattern. The communication system crackled to life. The holographic image of the 3 Apex commanders appeared in the center of the room. Their presence filled the space with an aura of absolute authority. Primitive species of the 3rd planet, Veltara's voice echoed in every human mind simultaneously. You will surrender your world and submit to Apex authority. Your civilization will be processed. 20% of your population will survive as workers. The rest will be eliminated. Captain Heian Lee stepped forward, his jaw set with determination. We've read the reports from the dead worlds. We know what your processing means. General. Zixamor's mechanical voice buzzed with amusement. Resistance is illogical. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your ships cannot match our speed. Submit now, and your death will be quick. You've never fought humans before, Admiral Park replied. You have no idea what we're capable of. The Vorthok Admiral Korthax pulsed with angry energy. Your arrogance will be corrected. You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will demonstrate why the galaxy fears the Apex. The transmission ended. The command center fell silent, except for the hum of computers and the distant sound of air raid sirens beginning to wail across the planet. Sir, whispered Lieutenant Kim, our entire fleet has maybe 50 ships. They have 300. Numbers don't tell the whole story, Captain Lee said, walking to the strategic display. They expect us to fight like every other species they've conquered. Organized formations, predictable tactics, surrender when the odds look impossible. Dr. Yoonji Nam, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, had been studying intercepted Apex communications for months. Their strength is also there. Weakness, she said, they think in rigid hierarchies. Every decision flows from the top down. They can't imagine a species that fights any other way. What are you suggesting? Admiral Park asked. We don't fight their kind of war, Captain Lee replied. We fight ours. Across the planet, hidden military bases came alive. Pilot Do-Yeon Cho ran to his fighter as klaxons wailed. Engineer Min Ho-yoon powered up manufacturing systems that had been building weapons in secret for years. Resistance leader Tae Young-woo checked his equipment one final time before heading to his assigned position. None of them expected to survive the next few days. But they would make the Apex pay for every mile of Earth's surface. The first bombardment began at dawn. Plasma beams lanced down from orbit, turning cities into glass and steel into vapor. But instead of the panicked surrender, the Apex expected. Something else happened. From hidden bases around the world, swarms of small human fighters launched into space. They moved in patterns that made no sense to Apex tactical computers. Instead of organized formations, they attacked like angry wasps, striking from unexpected angles and vanishing before the massive alien guns could target them. "Impossible," muttered General Zixomore, as his perfect battle plans crumbled. They should be requesting terms by now. But humanity had only begun to fight. The galaxy was about to learn that some species would rather die free than live as slaves. 3 months had passed since the first Apex attack, and their mighty fleet hung over Earth like a storm that refused to break. In the command ship's war room, the 3 Apex leaders stared at tactical displays that showed something impossible. "Explain this to me again," Admiral Korthax demanded, his energy form crackling with frustration. The holographic battle map showed dozens of red marks where Apex ships had been damaged or destroyed. General Zixomore's cybernetic implants flickered as he processed the data. "The humans have reverse-engineered our plasma weapons. Somehow they have made them 30% more efficient than our original designs." Commander Veltara reached out with her telepathic abilities, trying to read the minds of human pilots. In the distance, what she found disturbed her deeply. Their thoughts are chaos. I cannot predict their next move because they do not know it themselves until the moment they act. Deep beneath the ruins of Seoul, Engineer Minho Yoon wiped sweat from his forehead as he welded the final connections on his latest creation. The fighter craft looked wrong by any reasonable standard. Human technology had been grafted onto Zephyrian crystal cores, while Nexari processing units powered systems that no engineer should have been able to make work together. "This should not function," muttered his assistant, Dr. Sunhae Lim, as she ran diagnostics on the hybrid ship. "Should not and will not are different things," Minho replied with a tired smile. "Besides, the Apex think in terms of what should work. We think in terms of what might work." Across the underground hangar, pilot Chai Yung-shin climbed into the cockpit of the experimental fighter. The moment she activated the systems, she gasped. The ship seemed to respond to her thoughts before she even touched the controls. "How does it feel?" called out Captain Hanley from the observation deck. "Like it is reading my mind," Chai-Yun replied, her voice filled with wonder. "But not in a scary way. More like it wants to help me fly better." The breakthrough had come. From an unexpected source, the Zephyrian prisoner they had captured during a raid had not tried to escape from her cell. Instead, she spent her time watching the humans who brought her food and asking strange questions. "Why do you show mercy to enemies?" The alien scientist had asked Dr. Yoonji Nam during one of their daily conversations. "Because enemies can become friends," Dr. Nam had replied simply, "and friends make us stronger." The Zephyrian, who called herself Telvana, had stared at the human woman for a long moment. "Among my people, weakness is eliminated, punished. But you treat your wounded with the same care as your healthy. That is not weakness," Dr. Nam had explained. "That is what makes us human." Something had changed in Telvana's expression that day. When she asked to speak with the human engineers, everyone had been suspicious. But her offer to share telepathic enhancement technology had been genuine. "I am tired of being part of a machine," she had said. "I want to be part of a family." Now, 6 weeks later, Telvana worked alongside human technicians in the underground laboratories. Her telepathic abilities allowed human pilots to coordinate in ways that amazed even their own commanders. "Strike Group 7, this is base control." Lieutenant Mina Kim spoke into her headset. "You have 3 Apex destroyers approaching from Sector 4. In space, pilot Do Yan-cho smiled as Telvana's voice whispered directly into his mind. Not words, but pure understanding of where his wingmates were positioned and what they planned to do next. "Copy that, Control. We see them," he replied, banking his modified fighter toward the enemy ships. Around him, 5 other human pilots moved in perfect formation without needing to speak a single word. The Apex destroyers opened fire with their massive plasma cannons. But the human fighters danced between the energy beams like leaves in the wind. They struck back with weapons that the enemy recognized but could not understand. Human-modified plasma bolts tore through Apex shields that should have been impenetrable. How are they doing this? Demanded the Nixari, captain of the lead destroyer, as his ship's armor began to fail. His tactical officer's implants flickered with confusion. Unknown, sir? Their weapons are based on our designs, but they are operating beyond theoretical limits. The answer was simpler than the Apex could imagine. Humans did not just copy alien technology. They improved it, combined it with other systems, and used it in ways that the original designers had never considered. Back on Earth, Resistance leader Tae-Young-woo led his team through the ruins of what had once been downtown Tokyo. They carried equipment that would have looked familiar to any Apex soldier. But these devices had been modified by human ingenuity. Remember, he whispered to his fighters, they expect us to use their weapons the way they would. Instead, we use them the way we would. The raid on the Apex supply depot went perfectly. Where the aliens expected a direct assault, the humans struck from underground. Were they prepared for organized units? Scattered individuals hit them from a dozen directions at once, but the most surprising thing was happening in the prisoner camps. Apex soldiers who had been captured were not trying to escape. They watched, their human guards with growing curiosity, asking questions about concepts they had never encountered. Freedom, friendship, hope the war was changing. And the galaxy's greatest predators were starting to wonder if maybe they had been hunting the wrong prey. The first defection shocked both sides of the war. Nixari engineer Zixon arrived at the human colony on Mars in a stolen transport ship, carrying technical blueprints and a message that changed everything. "I choose cooperation over domination," he announced through his translation device as human soldiers surrounded his craft. Dr. Sun-hee. Lim could barely believe what she was reading as she examined the technical data. The biomechanical enhancement. Designs were decades ahead of anything humanity had developed. But more importantly, they came with detailed instructions on how to adapt them for human use. "Why are you helping us?" she asked the defector as he sat in the colony's meeting room. His cybernetic implants glowed softly in the artificial light. "Among my people, I was assigned to weapon maintenance. Nothing more, nothing less." For 300 years, Zixon explained. But watching human engineers work, I see possibilities I never imagined. You take broken things and make them better. You combine technologies that should not work together and create miracles. Within days, more defectors began arriving. Telvana, the Zephyrian scientist who had been helping humans from her prison. Cell was no longer alone. A Vorthok warrior named Kothmer abandoned his energy squadron to join the human resistance. "Your species fights for each other," he told Commander Hanley, as plasma energy crackled around his containment suit. "My people fight because they are ordered to. There is a difference." Engineer Min Ho-yoon found himself working 18-hour days alongside his new alien partners. The workshop beneath New Tokyo had become a laboratory where impossible things happened daily. Human creativity merged with Zephyrian mental networks, Nexari precision engineering, and Vorthok energy manipulation. "Look at this," Minho said excitedly to his team as he showed them their latest creation. The new fighter ship could change its configuration in real time, adapting to different combat situations automatically. Pilot Chai Yung-shin took the hybrid craft on its first test flight and returned with tears in her eyes. "It is like flying. With the best wingman in the galaxy," she reported. "The ship anticipates what I need before I know I need it." But the real breakthrough came in the underground training facilities. Human soldiers began learning alongside their former enemies, discovering that cooperation created results that none of them could achieve alone. Lieutenant Tae-Young-woo led mixed-species teams on raids that seemed impossible. Zephyrian telepathy allowed perfect coordination, while human unpredictability confused enemy sensors. Nixari technical skills opened locked doors, while Vorthok energy weapons cut through obstacles. "We are becoming something new," observed Dr. Yoon Ji-nam as she documented. The integration process. Not human, not apex, but something that combines the best of all our species. The psychological impact spread through apex territories like wildfire. Millions of their citizens learned that their own people were not just surviving in human society, but thriving in ways their rigid system had never allowed. On the Apex command ship, the three leaders faced a crisis unlike anything in their long history of conquest. 17 more ships have requested transfer to human space this week, reported General Zixamore, his mechanical voice betraying unusual emotion. Their crews claim they want to join the growing alliance. Commander Veltara tried to use her telepathic abilities to understand what was happening, but the minds she encountered were changing too rapidly to follow. The defectors are not being forced or brainwashed. They are choosing this path willingly, possible Admiral Corthax crackled with angry energy. No species chooses weakness over strength. But the evidence was overwhelming. Apex colonies were sending secret messages to Unity territories, requesting evacuation. Scientists who had spent centuries following approved research paths were desperate to explore forbidden ideas. Warriors tired of meaningless conquest wanted to fight for something they believed in. The transformation accelerated when the first joint Unity colony was established on a neutral world. Humans worked alongside former Apex soldiers to build something unprecedented. Cities where different species lived as equals, pursuing individual dreams while contributing to the common good. "This should not work," muttered a visiting Apex observer, as he watched children from 4 different species playing together in the colony's central park. "Should not, but does," replied his human escort with a smile. "That seems to be our specialty." The old patterns were breaking down everywhere. Apex ships began avoiding combat with human vessels, not from fear, but from curiosity. Crews wanted to learn about this strange alliance that turned enemies into family. Captain Jiho Park stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, watching his mixed crew work together with efficiency that amazed him daily. Former Apex Admiral Telvanna served as his tactical advisor, while Engineer Zixin had redesigned their weapon systems to be more effective than anything either species had built alone. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the Apex Home Fleet," reported Communications Officer Mina Kim. "Put them through," Captain Park replied. The image that appeared on the screen showed not the familiar faces of the 3 Apex commanders, but dozens of different aliens crowded together. "This is Captain Velenoth of the reformed Apex Fleet," the lead figure announced. "We wish to discuss terms for joining your Unity." The war was ending, but not through conquest. It was ending through something the galaxy had never seen before: voluntary cooperation that made everyone stronger. The paradigm had shifted completely, and there was no going back. 2 years after the first Apex attack, Admiral Jiho Park stood in the command center of the UES New Dawn, a ship that represented everything the war had taught humanity. The massive vessel hummed with technologies that should have been impossible. Zephyrian crystal networks carried thoughts between crew members, while Nexari manufacturing systems worked alongside Vorthok energy cores. "We have 17 Apex core worlds requesting immediate integration into the Unity," reported Communications Officer Nayin Song. Her voice carried amazement rather than surprise. This had become the new normal. The revolution was spreading faster than anyone had imagined. What had started as individual defections had become entire star systems. Abandoning the old Apex ways, Dr. Sunhee Lim's integration protocols worked so well that former enemies were calling each other family within months. "The consortium is falling apart," Intelligence Chief Wan Bin Kong reported during the morning briefing. "Their own citizens are choosing Unity citizenship over loyalty to their old government." It is now 15-1. On the bridge, former Apex Admiral Telvanna worked beside human strategists as naturally as breathing. Her telepathic abilities had become part of the ship's tactical planning, but she used them to understand rather than control. "My people are discovering what individual choice means," she explained to a group of visiting diplomats. Under the consortium, a scientist could only study approved subjects. A warrior could only fight assigned battles. Here, curiosity leads to breakthrough. The changes were visible everywhere. Unity shipyards produced vessels that were engineering marvels, sleek forms that could shift between exploration, defense, and construction as needed. Crews that had once tried to kill each other now worked together so smoothly that observers could not tell where one species' contributions ended and another's began. Engineer Minho Yoon, now director of Unity Engineering, walked through his latest project with Zixin at his side. The Nexari had become more than a colleague over the past year. They were genuine friends. "Look at this efficiency curve," Minho said, pointing to the holographic display. "We are not just combining our technologies. We are creating something that goes beyond what any of us could achieve alone." The proof was in the numbers. Unity ships could travel faster, fight better, and explore deeper than anything the galaxy had ever seen. But more importantly, they carried crews who wanted to be there. The final blow to the old order came when the consortium's capital world, Apex Prime, requested Unity membership. Citizens who had once ruled through fear were choosing to contribute through cooperation. "This is unprecedented," observed Dr. Yunji Nam as she compiled her research. "We have documentation of the complete transformation of a galactic civilization. The Apex are not becoming human. They're becoming themselves for the first time." The revelation had started small, few defectors sharing stories of freedom and friendship. But those stories spread through Apex space like seeds in fertile ground. Citizens who had spent their lives following orders discovered they could make choices. Scientists who had researched approved topics found they could explore their curiosity. Warriors who had fought meaningless battles learned they could protect things they cared about. "Commander." Huan Lee smiled as he reviewed the latest reports. Instead of casualty statistics, he was reading cooperation achievements. Former battle zones had become construction sites where mixed crews built research stations and diplomatic centers. "Captain Doyan Cho, how are the newest Unity members?" "Adjusting?" he asked during their weekly conference call. "Remarkably well, sir. Yesterday, a former Apex strike team leader asked to join our exploration program. She wants to discover new worlds instead of conquering them." The transformation was not just military or political. It was personal. Unity territories, beings, who had been taught to hate each other, were forming bonds that crossed species lines. Humans learned telepathic communication from Zephyrians while teaching them about individual creativity. Nexari shared their technical precision while absorbing human innovation. Vorthok offered their energy mastery while embracing concepts of mercy and compassion. Pilot Chao Yungxin, now an instructor at Unity Flight Academy, watched her mixed-species students practice formations that would have been impossible under the old ways. "They are not learning to fight wars," she told her teaching assistant. "They are learning to prevent them." The ripple effects reached every corner of known space. Other civilizations that had lived in fear of Apex conquest now sent ambassadors to learn about Unity principles. Species that had been enemies for centuries asked for mediation using Unity methods. "We have requests for assistance from 43 different worlds this month," reported diplomatic coordinator Taeyong Wu. "They do not want us to solve their problems. They want to learn how to solve problems the way we do." The galaxy was watching, and what they saw amazed them. The Unity had not conquered the Apex through superior weapons or better tactics. They had shown them a different way to exist, a way where diversity made everyone stronger instead of weaker. As Admiral Park concluded another successful integration ceremony, he reflected on how far they had all come. The Apex had arrived as conquerors, expecting to add another dead world to their collection. Instead, they had discovered something that transformed their entire civilization. "We did not defeat them," he said to his mixed-species crew as they celebrated another peaceful day. "We showed them who they could become." The great revelation was complete. The galaxy's most feared predators had learned that cooperation was stronger than conquest, and they would never go back to the old ways. 5 years after the first shots were fired, President Sora Park stood before the Unity Council in a chamber that defied imagination. Representatives from 63 different species surrounded her in holographic form, their diverse voices creating a harmony that had never existed in galactic history. Today we welcome the Crystal Singers and the Void Dancers to our Unity, she announced as new holographic forms materialized around the vast chamber. Each species brings unique gifts that make all of us stronger. The transformation was complete.
Ow.
What had begun as Earth's desperate fight for survival had become the galaxy's most successful civilization. Species that had warred for millennia now worked together on projects that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Admiral Jiho Park toured the Unity flagship Infinite Horizon, a vessel so advanced it seemed to bend space around itself. Ship-housed laboratories, or former enemies, collaborated on research that would have been impossible for any single species to achieve. Captain Doyen Cho, how are our newest crew members adjusting? He asked, as they walked through corridors that hummed with combined technologies. Better than expected, sir. The Crystal Singers have revolutionized our shield systems by teaching us to use sound frequencies as defensive barriers. The Void Dancers showed us how to navigate through dimensions we never knew existed. In the depths of space, massive construction fleets worked on humanity's most ambitious project. The Unity Ring was a habitat designed to house billions of beings. From dozens of species, engineer Minho Yoon, now 75 but still leading innovation efforts, supervised the construction with his multi-species team. The environmental systems are adapting perfectly, reported Nexari engineer Zixon, who had become like a brother to Minho over the years. Each habitat section automatically adjusts to the needs of different species. The ring was more than just a home. It was proof that beings from across the galaxy could live together in harmony. Children who had never known war played together in parks where artificial suns provided different types of light for various species. Needs Dr. Sun Helam had established the Unity Integration Academy, where representatives from potential member species learned not just about human culture, but about the principles that made cooperation possible. Her waiting list grew longer every month. The applications keep coming, she told her assistant Mina Kim as they reviewed the latest batch. Yesterday, we received requests from 3 species who have been traditional enemies for thousands of years. They want to join together as a group. The Academy's success stories spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had been locked in bitter conflicts for generations discovered that their differences could become strengths when properly combined. The Unity method of integration had become a template that other civilizations tried to copy. Former military commander Taeyong Woo now served as director of interspecies relations, helping civilizations resolve conflicts through cooperation rather than violence. His mediation teams included beings from dozens of species, each bringing unique perspectives to problem solving. We have a new request from the Outer Spiral, he reported during the weekly council meeting. 2 species that have been fighting over mining rights for 3 centuries want to try Unity-style negotiation. The results spoke for themselves. Conflicts that had lasted millennia were being resolved in months. Raid routes that had been war zones became highways for cultural exchange. Scientific research that had been limited by species boundaries now advanced at incredible speeds. Pilot Chae-Young Shin, now head of the Unity Defense Academy, watched her mixed-species students practice formations that demonstrated perfect coordination between beings who thought in completely different ways. They are not learning to fight, she observed to her teaching staff. They are learning to protect. There is a difference. The Unity military had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a defense force that other civilizations trusted rather than feared. When conflicts arose, species requested Unity peacekeepers not because they were the strongest, but because they were the most fair. The economic transformation was equally remarkable. Unity territories had become the galaxy's center of innovation and trade. Technologies that had been jealously guarded secrets were now shared freely, leading to breakthroughs that benefited everyone. Our latest economic report shows remarkable growth, reported Trade Coordinator Wan Bin Kong. But more importantly, that growth is being shared equally among all member species. The Unity had solved the problem that had plagued galactic civilization. For millions of years, how to make diversity a strength rather than a source of conflict. The answer had been simpler than anyone imagined. Treat every being as valuable, encourage their unique contributions, and share the benefits fairly. as President Sora Park concluded another successful council session. She looked out at the stars through the chamber's transparent walls. Each point of light represented worlds where beings lived together in harmony, pursuing their dreams while contributing to the common good. "We did not conquer the galaxy," she said to her mixed-species staff as they prepared for the next day's work. "We showed it how to thrive." The Unity's influence had spread to every corner of known space. What had begun as humanity's desperate defense against extinction had become a beacon of hope that transformed the very nature of galactic civilization. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, illuminated not by the fires of war, but by the light of cooperation spanning countless worlds. The age of conquest was over. The age of unity had begun.